Well, welcome to the Mendota Ranch. Today, I want to help y'all learn how the Bambi bucket works, the firefighting. It's a March 3rd, so we're kind of getting into firefighting season. And I'm trying to go live on YouTube, the fires I go to. So if you see a live feed on a fire, that's what I'm trying to do. So hopefully it all works. But before we do that, we got some house cleaning to do. So remember, we're going to name the horse. So we picked the name, and the name is Mendota. Mendota. Okay, so we gotta get the horse's name. The name we picked was Mendota Metallic Ruby, not Mendoza or Mendoza's. It's Mendota Metallic Ruby. It's March 3rd. So if you pick that name before March 3rd, then I will send you a cap. And let me tell you, I would say all the names, but there's a crap load of them. So I'm gonna be sending about a bunch of caps. So I'll be contacting you if you pick Mendota Metallic Ruby. That's what we named the mare, and actually we already sold the horse. She's gone, so good for me. So, okay, one more thing. Remember last week's video with we found Max's antlers? So let me show you on Max's antlers. One thing, we scored them. So he had one antler broke off right here, which was probably worth about 6 inches.
That's what she said.
So we didn't get to count it. So we scored him. He scored 272 max. That's gross B and C. So Boone and Crockett scoring system. Gross score was 272, and that's Max. So Max is 5 years old now. Last year he went 231 gross, and so he added, a good 40 inches, and it looks, if you put this up to last year's, man, this thing looks huge compared to what he was last year, and he was big last year. But 272 gross, Boone and Crockett. Okay, so like I said, it's March 3rd. Unfortunately, this is when we have some of our biggest fires, and I volunteer my helicopter to fight fire in pretty much Hemphill and Roberts County. My ranch lies in those two counties, so we help with the volunteer fire departments there. We got really great volunteer fire departments in Roberts County and Hemphill County. So how I got into it is, it was 2006, March of 2006. We had a big fire. It was actually two fires, but the biggest one was here. So it started over there by Border and come across me and we stopped it right here halfway on the ranch, here at the tracks. Y'all hear the train going by all the time. So Max is 5 years old now. Well, the tracks are right in the middle of the ranch. That's where we stopped this fire. The fire burned 500,000 acres. Had one here, and at the exact same time we had one south of here that burned 400,000. But the one that burned 500,000 acres was here. So essentially I was here at the ranch. Bonnie was gone, and the fire was coming, and we saw it coming to us. We knew it was coming. So I'd loaded up the dogs and the important files with one of my employees, and just told him just to get out of the line of the fire, because we were in the line of the fire. I stayed back, saved the houses and kind of the headquarters here, but it essentially burnt 10,000 acres on me, which is kind of this half of the ranch, in maybe 30 minutes. That's how fast and how big the fire was when this got here. It burned through me really fast, and I was like, hey, I called the fire department. I was called Scott and them. I said, hey, where the hell y'all at? They're all up on 60 waiting, because they thought it'd be coming up there, and I explained to them. I said, hey, the tracks are stopping it. We can get it right here. Y'all come down here. I no more got off the phone, and there was 3 miles of fire trucks coming. There's every fire truck from, I guarantee you, 80 miles. Every town around, all the trucks were here, and that's how we stopped it. So after that, I was like, by God, I'm getting me a freaking water bucket, and I'm gonna learn how to fight a fire with helicopters. So this was March of 2006. So I went and got signed off for external load in a helicopter, and at that time I had an R44 at that time too. And since then I've gotten bigger helicopters. I've come back to the R44. Now the bucket is small, and you'd think, oh, it doesn't put out much water or much fire. Well, it does. It puts out a lot more than you think. And what we found is we can actually work, I say we, it's me, and there's another helicopter pilot in town called Trey Webb. He's got a helicopter company called Flap Air that they train students in mechanic helicopters. It's me and him together, and we both donate our helicopter and our time for firefighting. And these little buckets only carry 72 gallons, which in a way sounds terrible, but in another way it works good, because then we work right with the firefighter. So they're on the ground, we're right in front of them dumping it to them, and we really don't have to worry about hurting anybody because it's such a small load. But it'll lay out a really good swath, about 25 foot, and it's about 400 foot long, but we'll go drop some and show you. But I want to show you how this thing works. I'll show you how this all hooks up to the helicopter, but this hooks up to the hook, and this hooks up to the helicopter for my control in there. And I've got two buttons in the helicopter for this thing. One button releases it, okay? So there's one big red button by my thumb, and it releases everything. In case you get an old crap moment and you're in a bad way, you need to get rid of the load, then you can hit this button and you'll lose everything. This part here runs this part. So there's like an actuator in here with a wheel. And what happens is when I'm ready to dump the water, I fill it up with water, there's a bladder inside that's holding by this. This is holding the bladder up. I hit that button and it releases that wheel and releases that bladder, and that bladder just turns inside out and lets the water go. And then as soon as the water goes, it's spring loaded, it sucks it back up and locks it. So let me show you this bladder. So if you look down in here, this is the bladder, and when it fills up, it gets tight because it expands out. I can control, there's a strap in here right here, I can control the amount of water it's in here. I can go 72 gallons or smaller, but I'm usually always at 72 gallons. And this, once it fills up, this will hold the water, and this is what actually is released from this cable, right? And that's what lets the water go. Also in here, while you're looking in here, there's a lead weight right here at the top. And what that helps me do is that helps the bucket sink. So when I put it in the water, it hits the water and I lay it over, and that lead weight sinks. And what it does is it sinks really fast and lets me get my water scooped up and fills this up. There's two ways I can fill this. I can fill it slow and it's not stretched out. If I'm low on fuel and got plenty of wind, I can pull it hard and expand it out and really get a lot of weight in this. This bucket, when it's full, is 72 gallons. So 72 gallons in this bucket is about, it's like 2 or 3 pounds less than 600. So just call it 600 pounds. This, the bucket itself weighs 70 pounds. So we're at 670 pounds hanging off the bottom of the helicopter, which is a lot of weight pulling you around. Not as bad as you think, but it pulls you around pretty good. But the reason that we go with this is I can go to a fire with full fuel, and I can stay, so with full fuel, I'm there for three plus hours before I need fuel. And the difference between us and other people that do like firefighting stuff, we never leave the fire. Once we're on the fire, we're there for the duration, okay? Another thing that's on this bucket is this sock. So since we're not putting out a whole bunch of water, we use these socks. And these socks disperse the water in more of a pattern so that we have a good pattern, a more consistent pattern of the way the water drops. So it has holes here, holes in the bottom. And so when you see it flying around, you'll see this underneath, and so the water goes through it and gives me a nice pattern so that we can lay this water down in a very accurate way down the fire line. So let's hook it up to the helicopter and let's go dump some water. So one thing we got to do, over time it'll come unhooked, so we tape it up just like that. All right, we're ready to go. That might be close enough. So I got a mirror right here, and that's what I use to, there's two ways I can do it. I can lean out over here, or I can use this mirror. And the mirror, if I got to go a long time, the mirror sure saves my neck. Everything's in the green. Okay, so here's one more thing. If you look on my control, I got one big button right here. That's to release everything, okay? And I got another little button here, and that drops the water. So I've got my bucket hooked on, so I got to be careful coming up. So the bucket's under the helicopter, and we're bringing her up. Everything looks good, no twisted cables. A lot of times whenever I'm start doing external load stuff, I'll sit right here and just kind of hover a minute, do a few turns, a little bit more than I normally do, just because I want to make sure my helicopter's hitting on all cylinders. Anytime you got an external load, and if we got like an emergency, man, it gets ugly fast. So when you're flying and you're carrying this bucket, you can't go very fast. So about 80 knots is about max. Actually, 80 is probably too much, just because you got just a big balloon floating behind you, or I mean, not a balloon, like a parachute. So you just can't go very fast, and it's just hard on the hook, it's hard on the bucket too, really. So what we're going to do, we're going to go down here to my Mendota pasture. I've got a little pond. There's a train parked right here. Maybe should we dump water on the train? Yeah, that's probably illegal. We'll dump it on the road. I want to dump it on the road a few times, and then we'll get out. And I want you to see how far 72 gallons will go, and you'll see what I'm talking about, how we can work along with the firefighters. And the neat thing about us is being able to stay there on site and fight fire is we can always, like sometimes the fire trucks get stuck, and we can go dump water on them and keep them from burning the fire truck up. If they need us to show them something, we can show them, say hey, or tell them, say hey, no, that's not going to work, this will work, just stuff like that. And truthfully, a lot of these volunteer firefighters, man, they're the best there are, but man, a lot of them are out of shape, and I'm always worried a couple of them going to fall over the hardtack or something. And so the paramedics are always close, but we can we can land and get paramedics to them, get them to the paramedics, either way. So one thing that we always watch out for coming into ponds when we're fighting fire, of course, power lines, you can't see power lines from the air. We can see power poles, but not power lines. So it's submerged, and now we just come up. So I'm going to drop this water. I've got a power line right beside us where we're going to drop the water. I'm going to drop it right down this road, stay a little bit on the high side. Yeah, power line is close. Here we go. All right, there's one drop. We're done there, huh? Let's do that again. I thought we could drop down this road, but the road's a little bit, we might find another spot to drop. So I'm coming back in for another dip again. So one thing that that really gets us messed up, we come in to fight fire, and of course we're usually somewhere, we don't know where, we don't know whose place we're at, or we know whose place we're at, but we don't, it's not something we're normally getting water out of. They'll have like I'm going to drag it through the water, get a little bit fuller. Yeah, see how much fuller I got that time? Yeah, now we got that bad boy full. Okay, so one thing we get into is where somebody's got like a zip line, and we can't see the zip line, so we got to be really careful coming in to a pond that we don't know about. Just because of power lines, we can't see power lines. We dang sure can't see a zip line. If you saw, I drug that thing through the water, so I really stretched it out really good. So we're really heavy right now. And you can feel it, I can feel it pulling the helicopter around. I got to be really smooth here. I can't be making any really jerky moves. Normally on a grass fire, I'll be dropping downwind, which is a little sketchy. By dropping downwind, I get a real accurate drop. So watch this drop here. All right, ready? 3, 2, 1. There we go. Nice. All right, so I want to show you this one drop so you can see the drop from the air. You can see the pattern really good. So that's 72 gallons right there.